we love to drink.
Yeah, no shit, Sherlock.
Our society loves to drink. We encourage alcohol to cope, to celebrate, to cook, to eat, or just to get through a tough week. I mean, you heard the phrases, mama needs a drink, pizza and beer. Unwind with a glass of wine after a long day. These are common phrases we hear every day. Do we collectively have a drinking problem? It's possible. But as I always do in this podcast, I wanted to go deeper and get more personal. And I've been following a couple's journey into sobriety. Matt and Meghan Heather are two of my favorite people, and they have been so brave to share their stories with us for a two-part series. Today's episode is about Matt's journey into trying to measure up to far-reaching standards and his gripping spiral into alcoholism and addiction while remaining pretty functional in society. He also recounts for us his harrowing experience in rehab and life into sobriety. You'll hear Matt's wife Meghan's experience in part 2 called Getting Him Sober, which will air next week. As you can tell, these are really important and really important stories that I think you can relate to or will know people that maybe find some similarities or relatability in these stories. I hope you'll share this episode. It could save someone's life. And if you're struggling or suspect someone you know is, you can call the National Drug and Alcohol Treatment Hotline at 1-800-662-HELP, 4357-HELP. Here's part 1 of my conversation with Matt and Meghan. So I know that this is a big deal for you to be here and sharing this, even though it is not a secret. So I'm really grateful for you for that. And I'd love for you to share your story, if you would.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me. It's not something that I've been shouting from the rooftops or running the social on, but it's also not something that I've been shying away from. I'm actually pretty proud of it. And so if it comes up organically in conversation, I'll bring it up, but I'm also not trying to force the topic on people or make it all weird or bring it up in job interviews or that sort of thing. But at the same time, it's a huge part of my life and it's a huge part of who I am.
So where did it start?
So in general, they say, and I'll take a step back, the science or the understanding of addiction is really, really underfunded and not really understood as maybe some of the other diseases out there. And some people actually shake their head and say, well, is it really a disease? Insurance pays for it, so some people think it is.
that equals disease.
Yeah, and it's they say it's a disease of not just the body, but of the mind too. But because there's not as much empathy for it, a lot of money doesn't necessarily go towards it. So there's not a big understanding of it to begin with. Where was I going with that?
Where it started. Where did it start?
Yeah, so, okay, there you go. Family of origin. So they say about 50% comes from genetics. So I have a lot of addiction in my genetics in my family. And then they say the other half of it comes from just, life. And whether it's certain things that maybe happen to you or maybe expectations you don't live up to or noise going on inside your head, running real fast, your brain running real fast or whatever, different things can lead to that. And let's see, I was a really, really strong, good student, did everything, quote unquote, the right way. And then when I started finding my voice, I guess, if you will, in high school, I started doing things maybe just slowly, little by little, a little against, what common, whatever they wanted you to do. And in high school, I I did start smoking a lot of pot and that kind of stuff. Didn't really drink because it was just easier to get pot in high school. And then I went to college.
What kind of high school did you go to?
I was going to say, I think that's an important ad.
No.
You don't have to name it.
I went to a private high school.
Okay.
And,
A very, very private high school.
yeah. And it was, I mean, I worked my tail off. It was a great school and that sort of thing. But I think because I was the kid that did like 5 hours of homework on Sundays, 3 hours every weeknight. So I think that in my free time, it was probably, my guess is to escape. I mean, I just told myself it was just to have fun or whatever, but I guess it was to feel different and not to stop the spinning in my head of all the things that I have to do. I mean, even now I feel like in my head is just like a running checklist of stuff. But I went away to school to a Catholic university that was pretty big on drinking, and that was a lot easier to get. Like, for example, in the dorms, you were allowed to drink. You didn't even have to be 21 because they didn't want you going off campus. And, well, I lived a pretty sheltered life in high school. So when I was left to my own devices and time, I mean, I really just kind of hammered anything that was fun. My first year of college, the dorms got Ethernet internet. So like that was relatively new for me.
Porn all day, all night.
This is kind of embarrassing, but I was like looking up things that were like nostalgia from my childhood, like He-Man or G.I. Joe. Because like just, I mean, if you think about it now, like those things and those memories, like you didn't have any visuals to go back on unless maybe you had the toys or something.
Right.
I mean, you didn't have access to information. So I was just constantly looking at things, playing different games, or going out to the bars quite a bit. So my drinking started there, and I mean, I was just a heavy drinker all through my 20s.
Did your peers drink like that too, or did you feel like this is normal because this is what people do, the wheels are kind of off, or did you feel like I need a little bit of extra?
At the time, and this is a huge issue of mine, is the denial. And yeah, everyone else was doing the exact same thing in my head. And when we went out and partied, everyone was getting just as fucked up. But I never stopped. I went until I passed out.
When you say you didn't have a governor, like that's been a consistent theme. You didn't have a self-awareness to stop.
I always wanted more, and that's what addiction is. It's not just the actual substance. It's not like, hey, I'm addicted to alcohol and that's it. I'm addicted to more of pretty much anything that, you know, has the dopamine hits or just, you know, kind of gets, you know, me thinking of, I don't know, what's fun or whatever. So, yeah, I mean, it was college, so we all were getting fucked up. So, I mean, that probably is what made it easier for me to say that it was normal and everyone else was doing the same thing. But I mean, I ended up not flunking out because I wasn't keeping up. I mean, I lasted a year and a half. Almost
You did
2
flunk
years.
out, or you did not?
Yeah, I did. Yeah,
Wow.
Yeah, I flunked out, and my denial was so thick that I minimized the heck out of it. Like it was almost like it wasn't even happening. So I came home, and you know, the letter was waiting, I guess, with my parents, and obviously they were devastated. You know, super expensive school that I just worked so hard to get into, and it was all kind of thrown away. And we tried to pull some relationship strings and kind of got some sort of situation worked out, whereas if I was able to go to the school next to it and get a 3-point, then I'd be able to get back in. And I started off great. Everything was cool, but then started going out again, and you know, pretty much same thing happened. So I didn't live up to my 3-point there, and then I came back home, and we'll just say it wasn't exactly a welcome situation. I was like, well, what the heck am I going to do with my life? And I was very fortunate that just through, again, relationships, which are just so important, I had done internships in the summers, which, like, this was before really internships were a big thing. So I had places that I had interned in that were willing to give me a job. So it was great. So I started in the marketing and advertising. And even though, you know, you're supposed to have a degree, and so I was, you know, taking classes at night and whatnot, but I ended up working my tail off, same work ethic. And then, you know, once I stopped punching the clock, I mean, I didn't have a family to go home to, so I'd work excessive hours. And then at night, you know, same thing. I'd party real hard. I mean, not every night. This was definitely a gradual thing over the years to work out more and more and more and more. But when I did do it, it was excess.
So at that time, so you guys are sort of around my age. You're younger than me. But anyway, back then, having therapy at that time wasn't as readily available or even accessible from a shame perspective. There was a lot of stigma, more stigma than there is now, where I feel like it's a lot easier to say I'm struggling now than it was then. Was that part of your journey back then? And were you open to it, if so?
Yeah, because I was, the family of origin I came from was so black and white, right and wrong, color inside the lines, that when there was, when I got caught smoking pot or when I got caught drinking underage, there were heavy consequences. At the time, it was being grounded for 2 months at a time or going to therapy. So I had started going to see, a young male adolescent specialized therapist. And I actually really came to like him, but I wasn't overly honest. I was still in denial about how much I drank. And then sure, there was still some of the machismo. I grew up with a single mom, and my dad was involved in my life until high school when we moved away. But I also grew up with my grandma too. So I had a lot of, female influence, which I don't know if that made me then try a little extra hard to be a little bit more macho. But at the same time, inside, I think I was definitely, or I am definitely on the more sensitive side of things. So
did you always feel sensitive?
I think
looking back, or do you feel like
looking back for sure, but I would never admit it. I didn't realize it because I didn't want it to be like that. I still part of my work right now is recognizing my feelings, and the hardest part is that so much in my head when it doesn't want things to be true, it won't let me see that it's actually happening. So one of the biggest things I'm continually working on is my sense of awareness. So back then, zero sense of awareness.
Well, can we just go back to your denial system, you and your family? Like you're so smart, you would outsmart everything. Like you should convince yourself of anything. So
yeah, justification,
right.
But like in a theorem, lawyer pragmatic sort of build the steps.
Like to use an example, when you flunked out of school, you went and got like a big person job, started making decent money, and you're like, I don't need the degree. It doesn't matter. I have a success. Like, and because you're so intelligent, you've always been able to continue to blossom despite all this chaos that has been happening beneath the surface.
Yeah, and I don't think I've told you this, but the reason I told myself I flunked out is because of the distractions. It wasn't the alcohol. It was because there were so many distractions, like the internet example I just gave. See, I mean, I'm still even putting it on that. So it was the distractions of alcohol, internet, girls, friends, whatever the case
anything
may
that
be.
was more fun than what you were supposed to be doing.
Right.
Because that dopamine hit.
Right. And I also blamed pot. I was like, God, I must have smoked so much pot it took away my drive. That had to be it. So that's what it was. So it was all of that, but not addiction. No, I'm not addicted, even though my dad was addicted, other family members. I mean, the writing was on the wall. Even other people were telling me that, and I hated it. Hated hearing it.
Yeah. So I imagine that you may have dated people or people that were close to you that said, Matt, you got to slow down. How did those relationships evolve, or how did you respond to those?
I'd imagine not very favorably, and it just became kind of like a taboo topic. I probably made it, I'm sure I made it really uncomfortable for people to approach me about it.
I also don't think anyone quite knew. It was always just like bubbling beneath the surface.
I walked the line like well enough to where I kept my shit together well enough, but I could fall off and I did. I'd make big mistakes and I'd get in trouble for it, but I was relatively affable enough that people would forgive me, or I would sincerely be incredibly apologetic about something, and I'd get forgiven. So I was able to kind of leverage some charisma for my fuck ups and then walk a close enough line to still have accomplishments.
You also have a huge threshold for anxiety, like things that would make people crazy. Like I think you will just wait until you figure it out and it works out. So there was never nothing ever bottoms out for you, or it didn't for a really, really, really long time.
Yeah, I have a unhealthy philosophy that everything's always going to work out, which actually works for me now pretty well.
It doesn't sound unhealthy.
At the time it was. When things were bothersome, I mean, that's, I guess, maybe, or I know that's why I would escape and I would drink, because then I would just turn everything off. And then I would turn into what I thought was the most popular guy in the room and super funny.
God.
And
I wish you could meet this guy.
Yeah.
He was like the definition of a functional alcoholic. Like that was the most crazy making part about it.
So I think what I'm hearing through this is how the denial aspect, trying to overcompensate, especially when it came to relationships. And I think it is so much more common because alcohol is so celebrated, at least in this country, that it made it, it's easy to not have a clear line of what, and really as we have these conversations today of what is the definition of alcoholic or having a problem, because there's such a spectrum. But please, let's go back to, so now you have figured out how to get a job and make a decent amount of money. Then what happens? And do you have any sense that something is wrong, or do you feel like things are clicking along?
No,
No,
it was everyone else's problem with me. My mom was pretty mad at me for what happened in college, and I wasn't following the golden path of, she wasn't saying like, be a doctor, be a lawyer, or anything like that, but it wasn't, trip into a career in marketing and advertising, which is kind of how it went. So she was married to an alcoholic, so she knew all the signs.
Did she know at that time?
Yeah, she knew 100%. And it was her worst fear come true. And so she was trying to do everything she could to like not make it. And so you can imagine the pain that she had and
the PTSD,
all that kind of stuff.
PTSD about it's real.
So, it's
generational trauma. Yeah.
So I was constantly like, knew that there was that level of dissatisfaction, so I was trying to prove it wrong, but in my own core being, it wasn't doing it the right way, or so to speak. So I never actually really felt like it was fulfilled. But yeah, I kept clicking along, going to work every day, showing up, because that was I'm actually a good creature of habit and structure when I'm placed and forced into it, which will come up later on how the wheels came off. So I did pretty well in my career and kept progressing. And as far as my partying went, you hit on it yourself. It's a celebrated thing. So there's always a reason to drink. There's always a certain sporting event. And, I was in Detroit in my 20s and 30s. The Detroit basketball and hockey teams, for example, were doing really well in the playoffs. So they're on almost
time to celebrate.
Time to celebrate. Monday night football, Thursday night football. Friday and Saturdays were givens, absolutely. Thursdays, just like kind of college, was a party night. So then, maybe I'd take Sunday, Monday off, or sometimes Tuesday. But in general, there was always a reason to party. So everyone around me I could find someone doing it, right? The common denominators, it was always me. I was always doing
You're
it.
always down.
Right. And because I did good work, I sometimes would get slack for maybe not coming in right at 8 or 9 or whatever, because I would stay into the evenings, into the AMs, whatever. I would do.
Were you blackout drunk, or what did that look like?
Yeah.
What was drunk Matt like?
Oh, gosh. It depends. Sometimes I'd be the life of the party.
I could tell so many stories, but I won't.
Yeah. Well, no, go ahead. What? By the time I met Megan, it was not fun party Matt like college.
Well, no, it would start off fun party, and you'd get like funnier and louder and more like, hey, I'm Matt Heather, nice to meet you. And then it's like he'd reach a certain point, and he wouldn't be like, passing out in our front lawn, although that did happen a handful of times. Mm-hmm. He would basically like be able to walk and talk, but like
autopilot,
like no one was there.
Yeah.
He's blackout. Yes. Yeah. But he would like lose his motor skills.
I'd become an introvert.
Could function in a party and just be like a drunk guy, but really there was no one there. But blackout was on the right.
Yeah, every morning I was waking up trying to piece together what the end of the night looked like.
But was that fun? Oh man, I got blackout again.
Wait, how about when I used to find you? Remember in our the first house on Williamsbury, you'd be in the garage, like falling asleep in a chair.
Yeah.
With a cigarette in his hand.
Oh my gosh, I've fallen asleep in my car, passed out in my car. I've passed out all sorts of places. And the anxiety is ridiculous because as your body tries to heal from, hangovers or whatever, there's just the alcohol causes more anxiety. It's a vicious cycle. So the anxiety every single morning was just, it ended up becoming so frequent that that's just how I thought life was. That's how every day of my life ended up being when I was in my, mid later 30s.
But at a certain age, that kind of experience is cool. Like, oh, look what happened, like found him in the bushes again. And it's funny, and at some point it doesn't become funny anymore.
No, because it was always me that I'd become embarrassed, and I'd become
defensive,
very, very defensive. And I'd try to keep it together, and I'd try to justify, well, it wasn't really that bad. I mean, I still, even talking about it now, I guarantee I'll probably try to correct Meghan a few times and be like, well, it wasn't exactly like that.
It's called gaslighting, I think is the formal medical term.
Gaslighting is a whole other thing that I was doing. Well, I mean, since we're there, that's basically kind of, again, how I'd pragmatically justify things. I would do it so to make Meghan think she was the one that was crazy. So it'd be kind of like flipping the script and making it so not only was I defensive, but I'd get so defensive I'd go on the offensive on a little bit. And so then she would feel stupid, which is a horrible, horrible thing that was one of the things that ended up getting me sober was recognizing how much pain and destruction I caused just from that tactic alone.
Yeah, so I think there's a little bit to dig there, because if it is Matt's there, you're functioning, you're saying what you need to say, but you're not there. Like you said, like the lights were out, but you would still walk and talk and do what you need to do. There's sloppy drunk, there's functional drunk, there's so many different variations of what drunk looks like for people, and there are some like I have a friend who, no matter how drunk she got, you'd never know she was drunk. Would it be obvious where that switch would go off? Where
it was for me.
Yeah, I probably think, not for me. For Meghan.
For me, it was. Other people, not so much, because he would hold, because he's so manipulative. He would hold it together up until like a certain point, and then he would fall apart. But like while we were in public at a party, everyone would know he was intoxicated, but they didn't know it was to that extreme.
What did it feel like for you?
I mean, for the longest time, it's a law of diminishing returns over years, but for the longest time, it was euphoric. It was a high at first. I mean, alcohol is a depressant, so that's why the latter stages aren't quite highs. But in the moment, I was having the time of my life. So it would feel great up until a certain point where it would just be like I'd stop getting the high, but I would still keep trying to chase it. And then it would go to blackout till I wouldn't even, realize what I was doing. Yet I would still, that's the craziest thing. I'd be on autopilot, but you still think you're in control. It's really weird.
You'd still need more drinks. Like you'd be taking beers to bed.
Always. Like the fear of not I'd bring a beer to bed sometimes, not because I actually was going to drink it, but the fear of not having it, not being able to get it was incredibly powerful.
Did it feel like, I'm wondering, at any point were you like, I need to slow down. Let me just chill.
Yeah.
What did that look like when you were trying to put the governor on, as you said?
It was always external forces. So a DUI.
Somebody's mad at you.
Someone's mad at me, a girlfriend. I used to joke, and I shouldn't even say it was a joke, but Meghan and I would get into quarterly fights because she'd get fed up. And it happened once a quarter where she'd rip me a new one, totally justifiably. And I would feel incredibly remorseful. And it always looked different each quarter on how I would go about trying to scale it back. Okay, well, I'm just going to drink beer. I'm only going to drink 2 nights a week or 3 nights a week or whatever. And it would last for a little while, but then eventually it would just go back to the way it always was.
Did you feel bad opening up that first beer? Like, I kind of need this.
No, because I would have justified it. I mean, that's like... That's the other crazy thing is like I never had a desire internally, a true desire to stop. I didn't think I was an alcoholic. I didn't have any sort of spirituality. I was always like, oh, science, there's no God, science. And so...
Funny, your kids are in Catholic school and you went to Catholic university.
Yeah, I grew up Catholic too. But it was just a stupid ideation in my head. And yet I would pray... This is the only thing I'd ever pray for, that I wasn't an alcoholic. Because I liked it so much. not because I didn't want to be doing what I was doing and the causes and effects, but because I enjoyed it that much. I didn't want to have to stop. That's how much I liked it. And that alone didn't even make me realize that, I mean, it's crazy. That itself should have told me that it was it. But because I was either achieving things or I could, quote unquote, stop when I wanted to, I told myself, I had a drinking problem, but I wasn't an alcoholic. I had a drinking problem, but I wasn't an alcoholic.
So at this point, did you have kids?
So I don't know where we are, but so the 20s, I partied my asses off. 30s, partied my asses off. We got a house, and then I would start doing it by myself. So that's probably a whole other
like
phase.
what, 2009?
2009, 2010. Yeah, because living in my own house versus living with Meghan in a friend's house or another girlfriend or whatever the case may be. This was the first time I bought a house and I could sit on my back porch and drink by myself.
Nobody's watching you.
Right.
Well, not only that, it was like the right house in the right neighborhood. So like it further bolsters the story of like, if I had a problem, I couldn't do this. Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the 30s, that's when I say 30s, not 1930s, my age.
Clear.
It was just more of the same. And then the drinking was like, it was dull. Now I always did drink beer at parties. Sure, I drink shots and stuff, but that was another method of my justification. Well, if I'm just sticking to beer, I'm not drinking a fifth of, whatever, living under a bridge, just waking up in the middle of the night slamming bottles. No, I'm just drinking 10 beers, 12 beers every night before I go to bed and carrying on with my life and doing fine, get off my back.
But I think it started getting worse in the 30s, somewhere after 2009. And then there was a point where we were going to move to North Carolina. And we didn't. You took a job and you traveled every single week and lived in a hotel. And I think that's when the proverbial wheels started coming off. You, again, lost the governor.
Shaking. Yeah, the wheels started shaking. The car started shaking. I took a promotion that had a satellite office in North Carolina, and we were going to move there. And for whatever reason, that it was kind of up in the wings for an extended period of time. So in the meantime, I was traveling there every single week. So 2 to 4 nights a week, I'd be going there by myself, and then no one was looking over my shoulder, right? Even though I was at home, Meghan was still upstairs. I still needed to come to bed. She knew what time I was getting up or whatever. When I was, in North Carolina, where, I was running the office or the geography or whatever, no one was looking over my shoulder. And I was still going into work but I was going into work on my terms. And, I'd work. The job was kind of crazy, so I was working all night, and but I was also able to drink all night.
Do we have kids then? I can't remember. I think we might have.
Yeah, because that happened in 2015. So that's when. So we had Claire, yeah, and Caitlin was just born. So
I remember being super pregnant. I was on bed rest, and I remember specifically getting in a ginormous argument. You were so wasted one night, and it was like 2 weeks before my due date, and arguing with you like, how are we going to the hospital? Like somebody has to come with me. And you're like, take
Uber.
a fucking taxi.
No,
take an Uber. Like
I think so. Here I'm justifying. I said, no, we'll take a taxi. We'll call an Uber. So
I'm like, can't you just stay sober? Like it's our first kid. Can you just be sober?
Nope.
And then 2 weeks, not that night, we had a huge fight because I wanted him to stop drinking. We probably 2 weeks later did have a child, our first child. And after delivery, you went to quote unquote go get me some food, and came back like 4 hours later.
Yeah.
Wasted.
I went and drank a 12-pack of beer and called friends or whoever on the phone, sat in my car.
Well, I was starving after being in labor for 15 hours.
The level of selfishness was through the roof. And I had no idea.
Did you feel like a piece of shit at this time? You had no idea this was happening?
No, everyone else is a piece of shit, not him.
I was too drunk in the mornings. I did. Every single morning I did. Yeah. But as the day goes on, you feel different. When you start feeling better, and you start wanting it again, then back to selfish Matt.
What was like the bounce back like? Did you have rough mornings? And were you getting evil eyes from Meghan? How to
rage? Rage, just
rage, not evil eye. Rage,
slamming of doors. Very passive aggressive.
Yeah,
he was like a third kid. I'd get everyone ready, and everything and then be like, here's the one, like, take this child this where, you know, this is where you have to go. But that he didn't really care.
You're right. I didn't care. I mean, I want to think I cared, but yeah, I guess.
And then right around that time, you started coming home, and I would notice black garbage bags in the back of your car, which I eventually figured out was there's some gas station that had black garbage bags that you would buy a 6-pack on the way home. I don't think you drank it on the way home, but you would drink it before dinner or something like that.
Right. So Megan's cool, and so she wasn't always trying to be up in my shit. So I wasn't the person like hiding booze or liquor under couch cushions or in cabinets because I didn't have to, because she wasn't like going to look for it. But I wasn't being out in the open with it. So yeah, I would have these bags of 6-packs in the back of my car, and you know, come home and be like, oh hey, I'm gonna go cut the lawn.
Take a conference call.
Take a conference call, yeah, whatever, and then quickly slam 3 or 4 or something like that. And then it was just whatever breaks I would have. So like I wasn't filling my life in gaps filled with alcohol. I was filling my drinking life with family situations. So like, I don't know if that makes sense. Like,
yeah,
alcohol was my higher power. That was my objective at this point of everything. Every thought in my brain was, when am I going to get my next drink? Whether I wanted to admit it or not, that's what was driving me. So, okay, hey, I can go play with my kids for an hour. Then I'll be able to, I wouldn't say sneak away because that sounds bad. I would, you know, take a step outside.
Or you take them for a walk. We had remember we had that purple or that pink push car and there was a cup holder.
Yeah.
You'd take them for a walk and drink.
Right. The cup holders suck though because
it would spill
the
everywhere.
Vibrations, it would spill. But yeah, I mean, I would put, you know, beers in my pockets. I mean, everything had to be a drinking related, but it wasn't like I was sitting there just slamming beers like you would maybe think about an Animal House or whatever. Right. It was just gradually having a beer, you know, every hour here and there, fitting it in, that just ended up adding up to 10 beers a night, you know. When
it was beer and cigarettes. Like I can't even ever recall kissing you and not having you smell like beer or cigarettes.
So yeah, we hadn't said that. I smoker too, and those two things go hand in hand. Oral fixation, one after the other. One feeds a craving for the next.
You must have been shitting bricks, Megan, at this point, you know, having these 2 little kids and not feeling like you guys are on the same page on that.
We're just raging, but I didn't know that I was internally raging. Just full of anger, like seething.
That must have been really hard to, you know, every time you open up a beer and then Megan's like, fuck, here it goes again.
Well, it would always be an argument. He'd be like, I'm going to go outside real quick. I have to, you know, whatever it was. Yeah. And remember I used to say, like, there's a time warp. And you'd be like, you'd literally argue with me and be like, I was only out there for 3 minutes. And I'm like, you went out there 45 minutes ago. We'd have this argument all the time. But I had just, because alcoholism is such a slow, steady increase, you don't even realize it's happening. And so I wasn't shitting bricks because this was just my life. Like, and I was also so afraid to admit it because I don't know why. I just kept thinking, I was so like addicted to the idea that it would get better. Like, you know, when you're younger, like, okay, we were kind of partiers, fine. Then it's like, okay, well, we, you know, make good money, we don't have kids. And then you think, well, now we have kids. Like, obviously, this is going to change the dynamic. And then, you know, you just keep thinking, like, I don't know, you want to believe it's going to get better until you finally admit that it's not.
So where was your breaking point?
So I have so many. We can talk about it later, but you can tell your version of it.
we can tell your version later.
Yeah.
So we moved to Atlanta, and my drinking was at its max back at home.
Wait, can we talk about the day we moved to Atlanta?
Sure.
What year is this?
2018. So
not too long ago.
Not too long ago. You were like partying with the movers.
Well, I wasn't partying with them. I was partying amongst them, like hiding amongst them, and they were giving me tips when Megan was at home or around.
But drinking beer.
I got hammered on our move. So I was
like, you
totally
barely
worthless.
packed any boxes. My mom packed most of them. I cleaned out like what I don't even know how big our house was.
Yeah.
3,600 square feet.
Yeah, and I justified it that I was, traffic control, directing traffic, telling people what to do, but really I was just walking from room to room, probably being very little help.
Like I think even my mom was mad at that point. Like, what is he
sure.
doing?
I'm sure.
But anyway, continue. So we moved to Atlanta in 2018. That's my little story that he literally drank with the movers, which I was like, they are like basically homeless and put furniture in a truck. Why are you hanging out with them?
Yeah, I was actually in the remember that shed we had?
You're talking about on the Morningside?
Yeah. That's where I was drinking, and they'd knock on the door and be like, "Yo, your female's home." Like, okay.
Also,
So when we got to Atlanta and my drinking was at its max, I didn't have an office to go into. I was working remote. So I truly had no one looking over my shoulder. Meghan was going into the office. I was home alone all day. And
Granted, we're in a new city where I know no one and have zero support system.
yeah.
Right. And so then truly no one was I didn't have any schedule to keep me aligned to not do things, to not drive certain places, do whatever. Like I could do whatever I wanted. And that's really left to my own devices when the wheels came off. And I wouldn't admit to myself that I was an alcoholic. I started, because I realized how upset Meghan was, I was like, all right, what do I need to do that I haven't done before? Okay, I'm going to go to a therapist and talk about my drinking problem and see how we can maybe scale that back. And I wouldn't do anything he said, except he recommended some pill that's supposed to reduce cravings or whatever. And I would take that and I would drink on that. It would make me throw up and I'd keep drinking. It was stupid. But
So you thought at this point you had a problem.
yeah, I knew I had a problem.
Yeah.
But
after like a year of living in Atlanta, like when you started having like physical.
so that's what I was just about to get to, is when I finally admitted that it was like, oh shit, is when I got what you call the 3 S's, the shit, shake, sweats. So it sweat through the night. I wasn't eating because
Literally would not eat except
Yeah.
for like once in a while at 3 a.m. you'd order like Uber Eats, McDonald's.
Eating was uncomfortable. Like it was forcing food down my throat. I was purely drinking, 3,000 calories a day or something equivalent of that. So food was not it. And
You didn't sleep in a bed. You just we had like you stayed in the it wasn't a basement, but like the first floor with the couch. You didn't need, like he stopped showering, like you for the most part.
Stop showering.
Like
Why do
not,
you
like,
stop showering?
I don't
just-
think I did, but maybe.
like you didn't. It wasn't as frequent. Like you were just like you lost your self care, except for when you had to go put on your like Matt Heather suit.
Face.
You'd put on the needlepoint belt
I
and
was
the Ralph Lauren
such a-
shirt and be
yeah.
like, great.
I would overcompensate all the shit that I was feeling inside by trying to look a certain part outside. Like I could walk into a country club any day.
You should ask about this later because this goes to there's a good story about that specifically and the treatment.
Yeah. The 3 S's. And when I started getting the shakes in the morning, which was when alcohol was out of my body, and when I would start, the first thing was just like, Meghan, get out of the house, get out of the house, get out of the house, so I could finally crack my first beer. That's when it was like, oh,
You would just lay on the couch
fuck.
and I'd be like getting a 3 and a 5-year-old ready, trying to get out of the house by 8, and you would just be like waiting to take a drink. Wouldn't even come upstairs.
So the last 6 months, I would say, before I went to rehab, I'd pretty much wake up every day, pull myself off the couch, see if I had a meeting, and then when Meghan would leave, I'd look into the fridge. Hopefully I'd have a 12-pack still. I bought 12 packs of Budweisers. I'd go to the store every single day and buy at least a 12-pack of Budweiser.
But you bought 12 packs so you wouldn't drink them all, right?
I mean, to try to somewhat curb it, right? And a pack of Parliament Lights, and that was $20.06 every day at the drive-through liquor store, Pitch and Putt, that I went to.
They knew you by name.
I don't actually know if they knew my name. They certainly knew my face and my order.
And you bring the kids because they gave them bubble gum
Or the dogs that give biscuits.
to the drive-through. Like
Right.
They're very accommodating.
very
It
accommodating.
appears.
It was a 5.5 minute drive there each way. And every morning I'd reach in and I wouldn't just grab one. I'd be grabbing 2, and I would literally, to your point earlier, like, do I feel any guilt? I would reach in and be like, okay, I guess today is not the day that I'm quitting drinking. And in my head, I'd be like, fuck, when's that day gonna be? Because I don't want it to be today. and I know I'm not going to want it to be tomorrow, but Matt, this is a problem. Now I know this is a real big problem. You're going to have to do something about it. And I don't know if I could feel Meghan's heat or what, but I started calling around. Well, first I called some friends that had gotten help.
Wait, Matt, you're missing, like, there's a huge pre-point where you started calling friends and trying to get sober.
What?
Remember when I was like, move out?
Oh, I downplayed that.
That's a big thing. Well, I think it's important because there are ultimatums that work in these cases, and some are self-directed.
I didn't think it was an ultimatum. She said, I think I'm going to go to a hotel. Well, this is my version. I think I'm going to go to a hotel.
No.
You need time on your own. And I was like, that's stupid. Don't do that. And then I forgot about it. And I'm sure Megan's version was very more intense.
You'd have to hear my whole backstory, like the whole thing leading up to it, which we can talk about later. But I was like, you need to move out. This is not healthy for any of us. You need help. I'm not interested in being part of it. Like, this is your shit. Like, you go deal with it.
I don't even remember that.
And you were like, no, I'm going to call this person, that person. And you went and called like a bunch of people, and you ended up getting fucking hammered for 3 days straight for a weekend, just calling people, being like, I'm getting sober. Like,
well,
now I'm getting sober.
I asked how they were getting sober. I wasn't
drinking like 36 beers.
Yeah.
Which made me like literally want to like push him through a glass table.
So I learned about these programs that were like basically like quick detox intake things. So I was like, all right, I'm going to do that. Let me see if there's a program that's like a weekend program. Okay, maybe I'll take a couple days off work. And I thought that would do the trick, which wouldn't even have scratched the surface, not even close. So I guess time for the intervention.
Wait. Intervention.
Intervention.
Are you ready for that?
I'm ready.
Okay.
August 15th of 18. I grew up, sadly, a New York Jets fan, and they were in town, and I thought it was a preseason game. And I thought, why don't I take one of my daughters to do that? That'd be a great dad thing to do. So I did, and I came back, and Meghan was like, yeah, sure, go ahead, go for it. Now, in
little did
hindsight,
he know I've been working on this
right.
whole thing. There's a whole story to this for like, I think 2.5 weeks. Because like doing an intervention there's so much to it. It takes a lot of planning, which I can tell you about later, but go ahead, Matt.
So did that. Came home. I don't know if I went to the bar. I was going to the bar.
No, you went to the bar every single night. You would take an Uber to Mo's and Joe's.
I went a lot. And usually it would be after drinking like 8 or 10 beers at home, and then I would go and kind of top it off there. So woke up in bed that next morning, and
well, you didn't wake up in bed. I woke you up the morning of you're talking about the intervention.
Yeah. Well, I heard you guys come through the door. So.
Well, no. So we all got there. And I you have to know, as a person who's married to an alcoholic, my biggest fear was I'd do this intervention, and then people would think I was lying, and then he would be sober, and I would be wrong, which is this hugely fucked up thing through this whole thing, that I was so petrified that I was crying wolf. Even the day of the intervention, when there's interventionists here, there's a first chair, a second chair, his parents, his best friend. Mm-hmm. We have letters written, we're doing the whole thing, just like you see on TV. And we met at a hotel, and we had to all caravan over there, and and it was me and his best friend. We're gonna go get him and bring him. We decided you decide where to sit, who's gonna sit in what chair, what letter you're gonna read first. And every minute, every second, I was petrified that he would be working or something. It was 10:30 on a Friday, and you were still in our bed, which is weird. And Mike and I walk in the room. Yeah,
and I immediately knew. I was I think I just looked at him and I said, oh,
he literally, he was oh, fuck.
Yeah.
We're please meet us downstairs.
Yeah. So walked downstairs, and I had ordered Uber Eats McDonald's the night before and hadn't cleaned up. So all my beer cans and McDonald's there is a perfect setting for what this ended up being. And I sat down on the couch, and they pretty much did their thing. Told me how much they were worried and cared, and read these very, very kind letters from people that mattered all in our lives. And me being in the state I was, the selfishness, I didn't give a shit about any of that until
At some point, did you think, fuck it, I'm just going to leave and do my own thing? Or what, did you know that there was so much at stake?
I was stupid, but I wasn't like that stupid.
But I gave an ultimatum in my letter.
So Meghan's letter is what, and I guess maybe the ultimatum is what hit home, but Meghan's letter, more, I thought, or at least I tell myself, is the way that it described, how you described how it made you, your life, the girls, and the impact that I had, because my denial was, I am drinking and that's affecting me. I am only affecting a 5-foot radius around myself at any time. I'm not affecting you. I'm still pulling my weight because I thought I was. Mm-hmm. I'm still doing certain things around the house or whatever the case may be. So her letter started to open my eyes that it wasn't just me that I was hurting.
Well, it was affecting the kids at this point. Like, they were really young, I think 3 and 5, but little things like Claire was washing her hands constantly. Like she was getting cracked, bloody hands. It was like anxiety, not because the kids don't understand at that age.
Yeah,
they could feel my rage,
the negative energy,
because I was just like seething beneath the surface, and they knew that Daddy wasn't around.
Physically, and if I was physically, then emotionally, I wasn't there. I was totally absent.
And Caitlin was like literally obsessed with me. Like, wanted nothing to do with you. Like, you didn't even know her.
Nothing. I had no relationship with my youngest daughter.
Wow.
And I had a very tight relationship with my oldest one, which
ended up being unhealthy because she could tell something was wrong and you needed something. So she kept like trying to make him happy, trying to fill that void,
right?
Which was making me the sickest.
And I wasn't getting the love. And going back to earlier when you're asking about my sensitivity, I am sensitive, and love languages, words of affirmation and intimacy, or just like human contact, touch, hugs, physical touch, and I wasn't getting that from Meghan.
And you were mad that you weren't getting it.
Right, but I'm saying not just physical,
right,
like sex. I'm talking about just in general. And so I would hug Claire that much tighter, because that's where I was getting human contact. So that probably drove, what we're talking about. Yeah.
But so we read the letters.
Yeah.
And you were like kind of a dick to the people.
Yeah.
Again, because Matt's always outsmarting it. He was just kind of like, will you shut the fuck up? I think you said that to the second chair guy. Like, man, give it a break, dude. Because he was very like impassioned about it. Like, come on, man, you can do this.
Yeah, it felt very cheesy.
It's just like TV, like, to be clear. Like, it is what you see on TV. Like, each person reads their letter, and they're like, will you do it?
Yeah. I'm so pompous. I dismissed pretty much everything. I found holes in everyone's letters. I disagreed with most of them. I got mad at some of them. I rolled my eyes at other ones. But it was Meghan's letter that really did it. And they said, all right, we've picked out a place for you. We spent a lot of time. It's in Florida. I'm like, okay. They're like, it's going to be 28 days. And I was like record scratch. Like, wait, what? 28 days? What do you think? You crazy? I can't leave my important job that I go
to 3 hours a day drunk.
Jeez. And so I thought, there's absolutely no way I can do that. And they said, well, actually, have you heard of FMLA? No. They're like, you can go on FMLA and your job will be protected. And I was like,
family medical leave, right?
Yeah. And I said, well, I'm like, I've seen the TV shows. Like, I got to go now, right? They're like, yeah. I'm like, what time's my flight? They're like, well, it's at 3, but this went really quick, so I think we can pull you up on an earlier one. I'm like, oh, great. So my head was swimming.
Didn't I already? I think I packed you a bag.
You didn't, but I asked you to. Yeah.
Yeah, something like that.
I was like, hey, can you pack me a bag? Because I don't even know. I was like just walking around aimlessly, not knowing what to do. My head was going in 1,000 different directions. So this one guy took me to. The guy was awesome. He was great. The guy that I gave
you drank
a hard
on
time.
the flight, but they actually like encourage you to, because you had to go to detox first.
Yeah, and alcohol withdrawal. You can get something called DTEs, delirium tremor, or something or other that you can die from. I don't know. I don't want to downplay the seriousness of it, but Yeah, you can die from it. Absolutely. So, got to the airport, had a couple of beers, got on the airplane.
Because at this point, you're drinking minimum 12 beers a day just to keep like from shaking.
Well, yeah, because that's what I wanted to do too. But yeah,
that wouldn't even make you drunk. That was just like Matt on a normal day for the most part.
Yeah. So yeah, the 12-pack a day was the minimum. Weekends, would be maybe double that, something like that. So took a flight down, and you got to start at detox, which was
you were there for I think 9 days, 7 or 9 days.
It was 7. And I didn't realize that, but they give you medication to come off of it. That's why detox is important, is to kind of like counterbalance. And
they also look at like your liver and your brain damage, and you're not like handicapped, but you did have damage in your brain that it gets repairable from drinking.
Yeah, that was when I went to rehab. They gave you a bunch of like psychological IQ type levels of testing, and they give you like when you get in and then when you get out, and the improvements were absolutely significant.
Isn't that crazy? Like you were
and that
hurting
was
yourself.
Just after 3 months. They say it takes your brain at least 6 months to get to repair itself in sobriety to where you a relatively healthy standpoint again. But yeah, so did detox for 7 days, which all you do is sit around, smoke cigarettes, and they give you some drugs that kind of just mellow you out. And a couple of people would come in and talk to you, maybe like someone from Narcotics Anonymous or Alcoholics
Were you resistant
Anonymous.
to that at all, or no? During
At that point, I was like, what else am I going to do? I'm here. No, I made some buddies, and we just sat around and shot the shit. This is going to sound horrible, but rehab was fucking awesome. I mean, not just from getting a healthy standpoint, but I hadn't had time to myself. Again, it sounds incredibly selfish, but when you're, married with kids, I was pretending to be active. I was still doing a job, although I'm sure not at the utmost of my abilities, but I was still leading teams and what have you. I had tons of stress in that job. I had, stress of knowing that Meghan was upset all the time and that I wasn't living up to, being a good husband or a good father. So,
which also kind of brings back to not living up to expectations growing up.
Yeah.
Anyway.
A cycle that feeds itself, right?
Right.
Manifesting my own whatever. So after 7 days in detox, got driven over to this rehab place that, saved my life. I mean, people kind of like, oh, you're being dramatic, but with alcoholism, you either get better or you die. And that's really what happens. I was hearing some stats on, I listened to some podcasts on it still. And it's like 1 in 35 alcoholics, actually end up getting help. There's something like 8 million alcoholics in the U.S. right now. And it's hard to really quantify what that exactly is. You have to, I don't know how they get to those numbers, so don't, write that down, take it to the bank, but it's something along those lines. Going to this rehab place that saved my life, it was one that is, it was very confrontational. That was their approach to it. So are we at that point, I guess, where I'm talking about the rehab experience, or you want to put any color in between?
I was just going to say, like, just to give you an idea of how Matt was in his mind at this point, and this is part of my work. You went to detox, you got to rehab, and you were like psycho about what I had packed for you.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was not up to the standards.
Right.
So you were like calling me,
like
being
I was
like,
having tea times at fucking
right.
rehab
Like he was
something.
like, I need my needlepoint belt, and like, where's my tennis racket, and
yeah, literally,
and he's like, and I need this sweater and that, and like calling me about it. And they give you like a family therapist and like a coach. Like there's all this help for the family system. And this is how sick I was, where I was like, oh, I have to send this stuff to Matt. I have to. And they're like, no, you don't. He's in rehab. Like, he doesn't need his tennis racket and his baseball mitt. Like, this isn't a club that he's playing at. But that's kind of where Matt's head was mentally about his opinion of himself. And like, he's made a lot of progress, obviously, since then. But I just remember thinking like, oh yeah, I have to send all this stuff to him. But then also equally being so mad and being like, why do I need to start my day and send you all this stuff because you need to get sober, But yeah.
So when I got to rehab, they take your phone and they big intake process, and then they walk me to basically like a little apartment kind of deal, which was right on a golf course in Florida. Very nice. And I was a part of this quote unquote professionals program, which was just a nicer. There were a lot of younger people in the program that still needed to be taught how to kind of like maybe a little failure to launch. So they weren't used to,
being an adult, but neither were you, to be fair.
Yeah, fair
This is
enough.
what we learned later. Remember when you called me and you were like, did you know Pop-Tarts are $6? And I was like,
God,
yeah, I did. Because they give them like a budget. You're like $100 a week for grocery bills.
Yeah.
Like they really go back to like pre-college and like reteach skills.
Right. So I was in this professional program, which had a little bit of nicer accommodations, but I remember walking in and it was the first time where it kind of all hit me and I just broke down and I felt like truly lonely. And I, started writing, which I never did, in journals, and I couldn't call anyone. I don't think I was able to talk to Meghan for like 7 days.
Well, they treated it as like a break. Like they were like, Meghan, this is as much for you as for him. Like you need to like rest your nervous system. Like consider this a gift where you can like not have to be on, because you get to a point where it's like, is like you get on alert before all of this. It would be like, is he too drunk? Is he driving? Are the kids there? Because you were getting to the point where you were essentially drinking and driving. But
yeah, I was.
It was like the spouse and the family need the time away from the alcoholic or the person with an addiction just as much as the addictive person needs to get sober.
Yeah. So rehab, you're given a schedule each week, and it's basically therapy all day, and there's just different types of therapy. So like one of the classes, I guess, for lack of a better term, is, learning about your origin and your family structure and your family dynamics and going through all your history. It's called clinical philosophy was the class. And that one was really intense because that's pretty much everyone putting their story out in the line. And you're with all these other people. And it was kind of quote unquote funny that I was the alcoholic because I was the old fuddy-duddy boring alcoholic where, pills are such a huge thing nowadays. So there was pills or, fentanyl or heroin or whatever the case. There was only probably 5 of us that were really alcoholics out of, gosh, I don't know, 100, 200, people. Or it's a small community because you pretty much take over this apartment complex. So they drive you to this building in these vans, the druggy buggy, they call it. And you'd sit in class in these different sessions, and they'd be themed differently. And every night, I think it was like, I don't know, 6 to 8 or 4 to 6:30, something like that. You'd have what was called your primary, and you'd have your primary therapist, who was your main therapist.
It's like your homeroom.
Yeah, I guess that'd be a good way to put it. And you'd have 8 maybe other people in the class. And that's where the shit got like down and dirty. And you'd all sit in a circle and he would lead conversations, but you were there to help each other and you would call each other out. And I mean, you did some crazy exercises like, what are your 10 deepest, darkest secrets that you just put out there in a room full of strangers, essentially, that you end up building quite strong relationships with. I mean, you're all there trying to get sober. Now, granted, some of us had different motives. Like, I didn't know if I was going to maintain a marriage. I had that fear hanging over my head, and that I didn't think I'd be able to carry on not being married. But for the first couple of weeks, I thought I was doing all this better improvement, and it kind of gets to your turn in the circle of primary. And when it got to me, and I'd say my piece, everyone looked at me and were just like, fuck you, you're full of shit. And I'm like, what are you talking about?
Because there was no emotion. You said all the right words.
Right. They're like, they called me like, you're a walking sales PowerPoint. And I thought I was being sincere and earnest and honest.
But that's how out of touch with yourself and your gut that you were. And that's 100%. How he was functioning his entire life.
Yep, 100%. I didn't realize that. And they ended up after 2 weeks, which I did some learning about, what are the disease and different coping mechanisms.
It was during family week.
So Meghan came down. They brought Meghan down. And of course, I'm like, hey, what's up, babe? Open arms. And
I'm cured.
Yeah. It wasn't exactly the same back. And
because then I joined primary group and met with this therapist, and they get like a whole other version of whatever he's been saying. And that was like one of the most intense weeks of my life.
Yeah, me too. And that's when I say confrontational. That's when, Meghan hit me between the eyes. And earlier, with her letter, I got a little bit of a taste of what she was going through. But in Family Week, when she participated in the actual therapy,
I actually went to all of his, like, they gave me different assignments. I went to all the same therapies and participated in group, like any one of the alcoholics, and some of them with them. It's crazy. We got to tell her about the role play thing we had to do with the kids.
Oh my God. Yeah. So in primary, she put it all out there, and that and then the role play, there were two instances that really broke me and helped me really see what I had done.
It was the first time I had ever verbalized how much seething anger I was full of. Like, I remember yelling at you.
Yeah.
And then, like, what it's interesting is, like, everyone liked him, and I didn't make people not like you, but you were mad because people were like, wow, you were a shitty dad, or you weren't great to your wife, and they were like kind of joining my side in the conversation.
Well,
right? Like, I don't mean it like that, but
well, they thought I was a pedophile.
okay, well that's a whole nother story.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
This took a turn.
But I didn't. That was not me saying. But anyway, so then, like, through this, when they realized he was out of touch with himself, they realized that he used, I don't know if I'm saying this right, but like an appearance to cloak what's really happening behind the scenes. So while I was at Family Week, they basically, what's it called? That when they do, there's a name for it. They banned him from wearing nice clothes, basically. He had to dress in no shoes, with a ripped shirt and
no needlepoint belt.
No needlepoint point. Like, for a week while I was there, he was not allowed to look how he likes to portray to the world.
Gosh, I forget what it was called. It was like a something ban. I forget what it was called. But I first time he said, okay, you can't look nice anymore. I came in like gym shorts and a t-shirt. And he's like, you did not meet the assignment.
He's like, you did not understand the assignment.
Right. So then
you had to match your insides. You had to make your insides, how you feel on the inside, match the outside. That was the assignment. So
then I went home and I'd made friends. So like we'd hang out in between classes, and just like college, like you have an hour in between classes. So I go back to your apartment or whatever. And I was like, fuck it, they want to see, blah, blah, blah. So I like took a t-shirt, ripped it up, took ashtrays full of cigarettes and ashes, covered it up. I had long hair by that point, took all the product or whatever out and like, afroed it up, and
didn't wear shoes
and came in. He's like, all right, you
now
nailed
you're
it.
here.
They made him wear that for like, I think
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Yeah,
wow.
so 2
Which was
weeks,
really
that's
hard
all
for
it was.
Matt to face the world with how he really felt, like for both things to be in sync.
And it helped me be a lot more honest in my groups and sessions, because it just was like, screw it, I'm just gonna, I don't know, it helped me stop
Pretending.
being tense, and I guess you're right, pretending.
Yeah. But then on the kid front, so they, so I didn't.
Yeah, can we clear this pedophile thing,
he's
please?
definitely not a pedophile. Okay, he's definitely not a pedophile. What was happening at home was Matt was so in need of like love and attention, and I was like repulsed by him at this point. Like, literally couldn't even like stand the smell of him, because you also smelled terrible. Yeah. He would always go cuddle with Claire. Like, he would go sleep in her bed or whatever, and I never ever was like, oh, I think something's going on, but it made me uncomfortable. Like, it was just, it wasn't normal for a father to constantly want to like receive like cuddling from his daughter, and I just thought it was unhealthy that he wasn't equaling his like attention desire to the other child. And so in Family Week, there's this, I forget what the session's called, but
it's like experiential or something.
It's experiential therapy, but basically they have other members of this tight group play the role of your children. And
everybody in your family.
Everyone in your family. And I mean, I can't remember the whole thing, but I remember it, other people draw from their experience. And I remember it kind of progressed to the point of showing us what our children would be like at like 18 or 19 if Matt had continued favoring Claire as the child that was perfect, and he continued ignoring Caitlin, and what our marriage would look like. And I mean, people were crying. Matt was crying. I'm probably not doing the story justice.
Yeah.
But
So they say, okay, who are the core nucleus members of your family? And, every class had 10 to 15 people. They say, okay, someone, you're going to be Caitlin, Matt's daughter, youngest daughter. You're going to be Claire, Matt's oldest daughter. Meghan, you're going to be Meghan. So-and-so, you're going to be Matt's mom. So-and-so, you're going to be Matt's dad. And then they'd be like, all right, Meghan, go ahead, tell Matt what you really have been wanting to tell him. And man, she unloaded both barrels, as she should have. And it was like, you are not the king anymore of this castle. And the only reason I'm here is for the kids. I want nothing to do with you, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
My whole thing was I wanted to break the cycle of addiction. Like, I don't want my kids to have to deal with this. I want them to have new tools. And for my seat at the table, Matt had been the king of the castle. It was whatever Matt said, whatever he thought, whatever answer was his, was right. Like, I was so tired of feeling crazy. I was so tired of tiptoeing around his alcoholism, and if he was too drunk. I mean, it took over every aspect of our life, our finances, our social, who we hung out with. So, like, we had some friends we stopped kind of talking to. That was probably like my very early warning sign. And I was just like, I'm not doing this anymore. Like, I am not letting you and your disease control me. Like, I want better for our kids. I want better for ourselves. This isn't the life that I want. And it felt so good. It was the first time I'd ever just like let it out.
Yeah. And then I talked to one of the youngest, this guy who was a younger daughter, and he coincidentally, or now I believe everything happens for a reason, he also had some abandonment issues. And so he really channeled that into Caitlin and was asking me, like, how come you don't love me? How come you don't spend? So, like, all of that, like, I mean, I literally crumbled to the floor. I never thought that was possible to, like, get that weak in your knees or whatever, but I crumbled to the floor, and then everyone left. And, I mean, I'm sure that was intentional. And so I was just left there, and they put warnings out for people that have had tough days. So I got one of those warnings, and I'd had some counselors would come talk to me, and it was the most impactful thing. I mean, that is what broke me, and that was like 2 weeks into.
But you need it, like they need to break you.
Absolutely,
it's like the whole thing.
Absolutely needed that to happen. Needed to cut you open before they could stitch you back up. That needed to happen to really get through to me, and from there was day one after that.
It basically showed you, like, if you don't get sober, this is the trajectory of your life. Like, you're not married. One kid is, has abandonment issues and hatred. The other one's favored and can't do anything right, and then probably has Matt's perfectionism issues. Like, it was intense.
Yeah. So, there are 28 increments. So I did a second 28, and they still didn't think I was quite ready. So halfway through the third 28 was like, all right, you're kind of getting it, and I don't know if you're using the best of your time here. So I think I ended up doing 78 days, and I think I did 78 days at the program, which was awesome. It was incredible because I was able to read a ton, build relationships, not having your phone. I ended up getting my phone back maybe 2/3 of the way through, but I almost didn't want it. I was able to sit outside, and it sounds so corny, but like appreciate nature.
It's like a trigger for you, the phone.
Yeah, the trigger. I mean, they literally, when I was leaving, they were building setting up a building for digital addiction. I mean, that's 100% real. So kids were starting to come in with digital addiction.
I need to enroll in that.
Yeah,
me too.
No kidding. So I made some incredible relationships. One of the classes I took was process addiction, and this goes back to what I was saying on how it's not alcohol. Alcohol happened to be the thing that I was, using the most, but addiction could be in any form: gambling, porn, cigarettes, phone, digital, I mean, anything. So I had to try to identify, they had us graph out all substances we used in our entire life, or anything that would, you could possibly get addicted to, and kind of take a good look at it. And I felt that really helped me coming out, because, I didn't know if I was a gambling addict, for example, but it showed me that, like, maybe you just shouldn't do that. Why even mess with it? So, like, I don't mess with that anymore. And
but even now you have to be careful, just because you have to be aware that you like a dopamine hit, like finding the perfect thing, online shopping. Like, we always like talk about it, like, okay, right. Do you really need to be buying this and doing this, or do you like the process and the hit of it and then receiving it?
Right. And I also don't want it to make it sound like, okay, 78 days done, click. No, that's the beginning of the journey. When I left there, I moved home, and
no, you didn't move home. You moved to a halfway house.
Moved back to Atlanta. Gosh, I almost wanted to throw a chair across the room I had weekly calls with Meghan and my primary therapist, and one of the last ones was, Matt, Megan's not ready for you to move back into the house. And
because this whole time you thought, okay, when this is over, I go home and like life's normal.
see
And I
my
was like,
kids again. Yeah.
no.
Nope. And a lot of people, they encourage to stay there because this was in Delray, Florida. And it's like the self-proclaimed rehab capital of the world. And I made a lot of connections there. And there's just a huge sober community that participates with all the different rehabs. They encouraged us to go off campus. This is, before COVID. So I would go to meetings, Alcoholics Anonymous meetings every day. I'd go out to dinner or lunch with people that I would call that were sober
buddies.
as well, sober buddies. And what they were teaching you was how to reach out and get over yourself and learn to ask for help, because you also didn't have any money. So you would have to not only reach out and ask someone to hang out with you, but also to pay for your dinner or whatever. Excuse me. So
Sounds like my whole 20s.
Exactly.
that's funny. So that when you came home, you would do the same thing. So that was an important part of it. So they said, okay, research halfway houses, which are apartments that make you take drug tests and keep a clean apartment, go to meetings, make sure you have a job, which I still fortunately had a job waiting for me when I came back. Not that they were ecstatic about that, of course, but came back, and I lived in this halfway house for 7.5 months.
Wow. How did you deal with that, Megan?
I wasn't ready. I was still doing work myself. And so for me, like when Matt went away, even though I still was a single parent where I didn't know anyone, to not have the burden of anger and rage.
It was easier for her.
It was easier. Like, and up until 3 years ago, I've been the primary adult of master planner of everything, or like, I was just used to it. Like, so the only thing that was hard was there was a long period of time where I didn't really have a lot of adult interaction, like on the weekends, or it would only be like through work because my kids were so young at the time. So every day was just like all the things you have to do and, trying to find downtime. But I was just used to it. Like that was just my life. And I didn't have to be angry while I was doing it. I could actually enjoy it. Like a lot of times I was so passive aggressively, like waiting for him to notice, that I'd be like raging and be like, look at all the things I did, and waiting for him to be like, thank you, which of course never came because he didn't give a shit. But
we had a couple of good, even though we'd only been here a couple of years, there were some good friends that helped Megan, next door neighbor, and then another friend from work that were really good.
They were so good to me. Like they took me on vacations. They had me come out for dinner. Turns out our next door neighbor in Morningside, his husband also was an addict. And I'll never forget this. The day after we sent Matt away, he came to my door with an apple pie and was just like, I've been there before too. He didn't even say the words of like, he's in rehab, he's an addict or whatever. Like he just knew. And turns out he kind of knew all along because he had seen it himself with his husband. And so he ended up just being like a really good, they were still good friends with him, but just, I'd never met someone like that. Was when I had my moment of like, there's other people like me, like other people have been through this and I don't have to like carry this burden of shame. It was like the biggest gift someone could have given me, was just to be like, I totally know what you're going through.
What I'm hearing is that, so I'm noticing as you're saying this, is that both of you feel so isolated in this, but then have all of this support kind of come out of the woodwork where it's like, I didn't die, I didn't blow up, I didn't, you know, my kids are alive.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering, Matt, what did it look like staying sober? Did you, I've watched all those interventions where, the chance of relapse is so high.
Yeah, it is high. I mean, again, it's hard to truly measure it, but they say 80 to 90% relapse in their first year. And it's hard to track who relapses because no one's going to come back and tell you, oh, hey, guess what? I relapsed. But it's continuing to do the things that I started doing in rehab, which was going to meetings every single day, and the things that I did in my halfway house, which was...
Do you think the halfway thing was a gift? Like you really had to relearn how to be an adult in your real life.
So the hardest thing is for everyone's initial inclination is to jump back into your family. Like, I need to make up for this. I want to be a part of my family. So that was always the excuse. And like in rehab, they didn't let us talk to them that much. They wanted to break that because everyone just thinks that that's just such a given. I need to talk to my wife. I need to talk to my girlfriend, or I need to talk to my kids. No, you don't. They're going to be fine. You need to worry about you. You need to focus you, because if you're not healthy, you're not going to be able to be in a position to do anything for them. So you need to make sure that you are sober for eternity.
Well, then you have to learn how to be a couple with a person who's never been sober.
That's a whole nother thing.
That's a whole nother journey. But
so getting back, I ended up.
But Matt, you've never wanted to drink again since then. You've had like some hard moments where we talk through like a Super Bowl party.
I mean, the fucking pandemic happened. You know what I mean? Like
that was a gift. That was like a gift.
For me, it was a gift. For most people, that really spiraled things. But what that enabled me to do was, so the reason the halfway house was a gift was because it enabled me to have time to myself to do things to take care of myself. I went to what's called intensive outpatient therapy, IOP. So every night for 3 hours, I would go do some of the same things I was doing where I was away, but just after work. And like that was a continuation. Like some people just do that and maybe that's fine for them, but like that wouldn't have worked for me. I needed to go away so that I was truly immersed and broken, because otherwise you go to something like an IOP, you say you work all day, you go do that for 3 hours, get super emotional, but then you got to zip yourself back up and pretend like you're back in the real world again. Mm-hmm. But for me, the continuation was good still, practicing, working the muscle. So I did that every night. I did men's groups. I did AA meetings every day. I was busy, 6 a.m. till 11 p.m. And I made sure that I was, doing the readings I wanted to do, whether it be out of, the AA books called the Big Book, or other just in general books that are self-improvement type things. And doing that for 7 months got me into some good practices and helped my self-awareness, helped break down more of the denial. My denial is still there, but I can catch it better now, where I'm like, oh, that's the story you're telling yourself, and that's really not what's actually happening, Matt. So having that awareness, I can course correct a lot sooner. But Megan, you said I haven't wanted to drink. Yeah, absolutely, I have.
But not like people would think. Like you're not like everyday jonesing for it.
I was for a long time.
Well, that's natural. But then you learned what your triggers are. We practiced like, okay, if we go to this party and this is happening, we stayed away from like bonfires or like big sporting events where you knew that was going to be like a thing. Right. But you kind of became like a model AA citizen.
Yeah.
Like, well, the overachiever.
Right.
But also, like I've gone out with you guys, and I remember that dinner last year with the other parents.
Like,
and
you mean the one when I couldn't get out of bed on Sunday?
Yeah. Megan is not sober. Yeah. But I was really dumbfounded, and really the reason why I wanted to talk to you was how you acted. That, we went out to a bar after. You were cool as a cucumber. You bought everybody drinks, and we're fine drinking water or seltzer or whatever it was. And I'm like, is this for real? Like, what kind of therapy do you go to where you can go from where you were, where I guess it's your rock bottom, to being cool? Or is that a dangerous situation?
So both. Highly not recommended when you're first getting sober. Yeah. Because trigger is a word that's used a lot, and they're out there. If you think about it, my life, everything I did involved alcohol. So when I was reassimilating back into the real world, every time I went to a gas station and saw the cooler, every time I went to a grocery store and saw the beer aisle, every time I went to any event, places that sell alcohol are increasing. I used to only go and bring my kids to places that sold alcohol so that I could drink. Now, obviously, I'm not looking for that, but I'm noticing that it is everywhere. So everything I was doing the first time sober. And like Megan was saying, I would need exit plans or strategies. And I really integrated myself heavy into AA. And a lot of those practices were calling someone. It's really building up your network. What AA is, in my opinion, is half getting all of guilt and any potential things that would cause you anxiety off your chest, and trying to be a good person, and then building relationships with people that can keep you sober, that can help keep you accountable, because as a group you can succeed. When you're on your own, you're going to be more susceptible to failure. So I dove headfirst into that, and that is really what helped me. And over time, I gradually kind of became better, but I always erred on the side of caution of like, if I even thought that like, hey, this is going to make me uncomfortable, I was either just not going to do it, or I'd be like, hey, Megan, if we go and, you know, I say, you know, banana pie, that means let's get out of here, or, you know, whatever the case. And I haven't said this yet, but Meghan is the most amazing person in the world to me. The fact that she's given me 1,000 chances, but she was so incredibly supportive through all of it. I'm so glad that she made me work to get back into the good graces and earn it. And that's why we were saying the pandemic was helpful, because I was able to reassimilate back into my family's life. So even though I was living in the halfway house, I would come over during the day. First it was once a week, then twice a week. Over the course of 7 months, then, you know, towards the end.
Remember when you first started coming over and we had to like, you would just be like party guy, and I was like, no. Hold
Wait
on.
a minute.
Remember we had to have that conversation, be like, well, no, if you're gonna come over, like you gotta do laundry, you gotta unload the dishwasher. Like that was part of the assimilation. Like,
oh yeah, so another part of the program is acts of service, and you constantly can't be thinking about yourself, because it's all about the long play, and you'll feel internal fulfillment if you're always giving and giving yourself away. So my mindset was trying to be, what can I do for someone else? And it got pretty excessive. But yeah, I was trying to do dishwashers, laundry, to the point I was just exhausted all the time.
That's why you were washing that lady's car who came over to help babysit.
oh yeah, I remember that. But I think COVID was a gift too, because everything was closed. So Matt had triggers at home, but I feel like you had learned better ways to deal with them. But you know, the concert venue type thing and baseball games and things that he could explore life without like build that muscle, and the world was there wasn't FOMO.
But did you feel like, fuck, why can't I keep doing those things? I love basketball or baseball games or whatever it is.
Yeah. I mean, the way to think about it is, this was the hand that was dealt me. This is what I have. You know, some people can drink fine, and you know, alcohol is not a problem for them. For me, it is. That's just what came my way.
We tell our kids that he's allergic to it.
Yep.
He's allergic to daddy juice, which is true, but
yeah.
they totally comprehend it.
Yeah, it's an allergy of the mind and body, and it's just what happened to me. Do sometimes I feel sorry for myself and it sucks? Yeah, but it's called playing the tape. And my tape goes something like this. If I start having one, I'm going to want 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Even if I try to control myself today and have 1 or 2, I know my brain. We say that, you know, alcoholism is outside the door doing push-ups, waiting for me to have a weak moment to jump right back in. So I'll justify, whether it's in a week or a year or 10 years, that eventually I'll justify that I'm strong enough to have a drink. Well, I know that if I have one, eventually it's going to turn exactly back into what it used to be. And that's a life where I'm going to lose my house, my family, my kids, everything that actually matters something to me. And that's just not worth it for me. And that's how it started. And as I got through the program and worked through all the steps, you know, there's something called the promises, where you lose the attraction for alcohol. And that happened to me at about 11 months, 10 and a half, 11 months, where I can truly say that it did not, recoil like a flame. It wasn't attractive to me. Sure, sometimes we're outside at a golf course and my buddy has a cold beer there for 2 or 3 seconds. Yeah, that looks great. But you know what? Play the tape. Boom. Where would that?
But how many times have you said how much better you like your life sober?
Oh my God. It's I can't believe how much. I don't want to say wasted, because this path is what. If I tried to get sober when I was in my 20s or even earlier, a day earlier, it wouldn't have worked, because I wouldn't have believed that I needed to do it until I saw the physical ramifications and the withdrawal symptoms. That was what really proved to me. Otherwise, I'd still be out doing quote unquote research. I wouldn't believe it. I would be doing it for the wrong reasons, which are for other people. This time I did it for myself. To get myself better, and I am, in my opinion, 100 times of a better and more productive human being, and I love life, and I can't imagine my life with alcohol in it again.
And when you see really drunk people, you're like, gross. You'd be like, I can't
Wow.
believe that.
I
Like,
feel shame because I'm like, that was me. Wow, what an idiot and an asshole I was.
it probably helps. I'm not a huge drinker. Like, I'd rather have
Oh,
like a
huge.
million and
So-
one cookies instead.
Yeah, back to the support of Meghan. I mean, ideally, some people are like, well, this is your problem. You should figure it out. It shouldn't stop me from drinking. I mean,
But isn't that a big misconception
Yeah.
that it is one person's
it's a
problem?
It's a family. As much as it sucks, it is a family problem.
And that made me so angry for a while. Like, so angry. Like, I was like, it was like, I mean, because in a perfect world, an ideal sober scenario, we shouldn't even ever have alcohol in our house. I should never have a drink. I didn't fully subscribe to that. Like, I am respectful of it. We don't keep beer and things I know he would really like.
We didn't have anything in the house at first.
We didn't at all. But, like, I will still have a glass of wine. I will still go out to dinner and have a drink. I will still, once in a very blue moon, drink too much. But, like, it's not a thing for me. But it is a family thing. And he was sick and I was just as sick. I mean, you have to have a certain type of, like, there has to be certain ingredients in order to be in a codependent relationship that involves alcoholism. So I was just as sick. And so I had to do a ton of work. And I've always been a big believer in work. So this wasn't new, but like that shame piece, like you're talking about, but it's all family, And so even our kids, like they're in therapy and they're doing stuff because even though they don't know, they know something. And I think both of us are like, if we can give our kids a gift and have them have like a super strong tool belt and not do this, like then we can change that generational pattern.
What made you stay, Meghan? What made you fight so hard? Y'all, I was literally on the edge of my seat with Matt's story. Listening to this with thoughts of compassion for Matt's journey and also kind of knowing the type too, especially when someone is in denial. I was blown away by his strength to stay sober in a world where drinking and drinking heavily is kind of the norm. And I was floored by his wife Meghan's commitment to his health and the future of their family's health. We'll hear more about her side next week in the episode called Getting Him Sober. Matt and Meghan have been kind enough to offer connecting with them, and I put their info in the show notes. I hope you'll save this episode, share it far and wide, and subscribe to my weekly emails at AllisonHair.com so you get next week's episode delivered right to your inbox next week. Big thanks to Matt and Meghan for being so brave and vulnerable to share with us, but mostly for their strength to be so courageous to do the hard stuff and do the hard stuff continuously to break the cycle for their family. It's so admirable. And be very clear on this, it is culture changing. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you next week.